Pop Shop America family, my name is Narola, and today we're going to paint this snowy landscape painting. But before we do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Let's start by opening our snowy landscape painting Let's Paint Together kit from Pop Shop America. Voila! We have several colors of paint: True Violet, Carbon Black, Viridian, White, and Cerulean, an assortment of paint brushes, a palette, paper to mix paint on, and a canvas. So we will start by adding black and white to our palette, and I'll be adding more colors, more of these two colors than any of the other colors, because we'll end up using more of these colors than any of the other colors. Then we'll add Viridian, Cerulean, and just a little bit of violet, because we'll use less of this color than the others. So I'll start out with white and adding just a little bit of the Cerulean and a hint of Viridian to get a kind of a tinted white color. A little black to dull it down. And I like to start with a lighter color and adding darker colors to the lighter color, because I find that it's easier to darken a lighter color than it is to lighten a dark color. Okay, so we'll mix everything very well together, and then we'll start painting. Now we're just kind of using quick broad strokes to add it to our canvas. I'm starting from the bottom and working my way up. I am starting with the snowy landscape itself. Just kind of scrubbing it in, keeping the paint a nice consistency. Not too wet, not too thick. And I wanted to start with a kind of a medium toned color. Because if we start with a medium toned color, it's very easy to add a darker color to it to darken it. I find that starting with a sort of mid-toned round gives you the option to either bring it up lighter or to darken it as you see fit. So we're just kind of painting in the snowy landscape ground now. And as you get low on paint on your paper, feel free to mix your colors up again. And it probably won't be exactly the same as the first colors you mixed, but it's not really a problem. This is kind of an impressionistic technique that we're using here. Now I've started on the sky, and I mixed up a color palette that's a little more intense. So a little bit more green, a little bit more blue, a little bit more black in it. But the sky will be a little bit greener, a little bit darker and moodier than the snowy landscape itself. And I'm doing that to give it like a little bit of contrast, just so you're getting a distinct feeling that you got two separate areas of the canvas. You have like your landscape, just looking a little bit more solid, a little more blue, and then the sky, which has a greater combination of colors in it. So you're getting a really nice mingling of colors here, but nothing that's too intense or too vibrant. So now what I'm doing, I mixed a little black into it, and I'm drawing a sort of slanted ground to indicate the horizon line where the sky meets the earth. And so I have the line, and now I'm using like quick upward strokes in the darker paint to paint upward to kind of indicate like the shadow of the tree line, and we'll be painting in trees later. And now I'm mixing kind of a lighter gray for that, and just kind of like light upward strokes to kind of give the impression of the shadows of the trees that'll go on top of it later. And it also helps to kind of delineate the horizon line, like the difference between the snowy ground, the sky, and also the trees that'll be there will help to kind of separate the horizon line, or create a horizon line that separates the earth from the sky. So now I'm mixing a little bit more of the Cerulean and the Viridian to add to the sky area. And you can see it's like a little bit thicker than what I added before, and a little bit bluer too. Okay, I'm mixing in like a little black to get like a darker blue. It's a little grayer, a little bit duller. And it kind of adds to the moodiness of the sky. I love how those colors are just kind of mixing and overlapping each other. And just feel free to kind of paint freely. And we're keeping it mostly towards the upper part of the canvas. And you notice that the upper part of the canvas has the more vibrant and intense colors. And you'll notice if you were to actually go outside and look at the horizon line, you notice that the sky above you is a lot more vibrant and intensely colored than the sky that's closer to the horizon. And so that's where we're going to keep like the majority of our bolder and more vibrant colors, even though the entire color palette is somewhat subdued. But our more intense and vibrant colors will be near the top. And as we move towards the horizon line and the shadow of the trees, it's going to be a little bit lighter. So now I'm mixing up a little bit thicker paint now to give kind of a cloudy effect. And whereas before it was a little bit more washy, you can kind of see like the texture of the canvas through it. I'm using a heavier paint. I'm loading up my paintbrush with a heavier amount of paint to kind of fill in so we're not seeing so much of the canvas. And so we're actually kind of now starting to kind of embroider more color into it. And so I'm using some horizontal strokes and also some vertical strokes to kind of add a little bit of texture and interest to the canvas. And as I'm moving towards the horizon and to the shadow of where the trees will be, I'm adding in some white, so that it's a little bit lighter as it moves down the canvas. And I'm becoming a little bit bolder with my application of white, especially as we're getting towards the shadows of the trees, kind of bring them out a little bit. And now I'm adding white to the landscape itself, to the snowy areas, to kind of bring out the fact that this is supposed to be white, because snow is white. But even as you're painting it though, whenever you're painting something, nothing that you're painting is really going to be a true white, because white's always going to kind of reflect whatever's around it. And so we're going to paint a little bit on top of that beautiful bluish ground that we applied before, just to kind of give a little dimension to the snowy area. And we'll keep the lightest parts of it near the horizon so we get a little contrast between the shadows of the trees and the top of the snowy landscape. And then just kind of add like white to like the entirety of it, not to cover it, because we still want some of the blues and the greens coming through, but just to kind of delineate that it is indeed like a snowy space. And it's very nice and kind of clean looking, whereas the sky has like, you know, the bits of darkness with the grays to give like that moodier, more impressionistic sky feel. All right, so I'm choosing a smaller brush now, and I'm going to mix up a little white paint on my mixing paper, starting a little blue there. So I'm keeping this a little bit cooler, adding just a little bit of the Viridian, and you see how intense this color is compared to some of the other colors mixtures I've used. And I'm adding black to it now, because I don't want it to be a flat black. I want it to be a black that has like a little vibrancy to it. And we're going to use this black to start sketching in some trees. Now these are just little small trees that'll be in the background. And you notice I kind of like sketch or almost embroider them in, just like little triangular scribbles with kind of roughish, not rough, but kind of patchy edges. So just kind of scratch those in and do like different sizes, and they're all just basically a kind of a triangular shape. And putting the different sizes helps to give the impression that they're different distances from the viewer as well. Different sizes, so they're all the same basic shape. And you notice that there's like darker areas and lighter areas. Like the darker areas will give the impression that the trees are a little bit closer to you, and the trees that seem a little bit lighter in appearance will give the impression that those trees are a little further. Because it's kind of a moody, hazy landscape, like those trees that are a little bit lighter will recede into the distance some. So don't feel like you have to treat this in a perfect way. Just kind of let your brush dance over the canvas while you're adding in the little trees. And you can kind of do this kind of intuitively, like, you know, you're welcome to add as many as you like. And I add trees to about maybe a little bit over the halfway point of the canvas. And then I start painting trees on the other side too. So I'm not going to put too many on this side, because we're wanting to have a little bit of a kind of a, we don't want a perfectly symmetrical composition, but you do want it to be balanced. So just kind of sketching in maybe 3 trees on this side. We're going to leave a space there because that's where we're going to put our larger tree. Okay, so let's see. So just based on what I told you, the trees on the right-hand side are maybe a little bit further away from us than the trees on the left side, because they're a little bit lighter and they're receding into the haze or the fog. Okay, kind of like that. I like that on each side of the space there are 2 smaller trees to kind of frame it. So now we're going to prepare, ooh, for my favorite part. So we're going to dab down some white, and then we're going to kind of dip our brush into the water to get like a kind of a nice consistency of white paint. And then we're going to load up our brush, and then using our thumb, we're going to pull back the bristles to kind of get a spatter paint effect. Look how magical that looks. Now you'll notice that some of those spatters came out maybe a little larger than we want. And I'm okay with that. I'm willing to live with it. But if you're not quite happy with that, what you can do is go in with a paper towel and kind of very carefully dab up the larger spots if you don't like them. If you want them to look a little bit more uniform. Or you can go back in with your paintbrush and kind of dab around them until they're a little bit smaller. But I'm cool with it because, you know, snowflakes can come in different sizes. So I'm kind of spattering the white paint all over them. If you have a toothbrush, that'll make the process even easier. So now, after the paint is dried for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, because you don't want the spatters to mix into what you're about to paint, I'll put down a straight stick to kind of mark where I want to put my larger tree, and I put down some dots. Then I very carefully connect the dots going from top to bottom. And this part's going to be largely hidden, and you'll start doing that same kind of embroidery technique where you're just kind of embroidering or sketching on like the branches of the evergreen tree. And it'll be the same as the small ones. It'll be basically kind of like a triangular, elongated triangular shape, and you're just kind of sketching on the branches. Sketching. And I think this might be the only place I really use the violet, because I think it adds kind of like a nice darkening effect while still allowing the black to be very vibrant. And you can see like this tree is a little darker than the other trees because this tree is the one that's closest to us in the landscape, whereas the others are further back from us, and there's like the haze or the fog that's between us and those trees. And not to mention, like, the snow itself forms sort of a veil that makes those trees recede back into the background. I made mine relatively tall and elongated, but you're welcome to make yours broader if you like. I feel like it fits very nicely within like the framing of the trees in the back. But you're also welcome to, if you're painting it, you can overlap it over the trees in the back. That'll even add to the idea that this tree is closer to you and in the front, and those are in the background. There you go, nice and full. No Charlie Brown Christmas trees here. So just sketching in more branches, getting a nice fullness to it. And as you're painting too, you'll notice that you can kind of see a little bit of the horizon line through the tree. But the more you paint, like, that'll start to fill in and it won't be noticeable by the end of it. So we covered like the trunk completely, so you won't see any trunk at the bottom. You'll just see like the branches resting on the snow. Now I'm adding some white to the mixture I used to make this particular tree. And now I'm adding like, not white, because like I said before, it's like, there's nothing in this painting that's truly white, except maybe the snowflakes. And even those are gonna kind of reflect like a little bit of, the colors around them. So now I'm adding like this kind of grayed out white to the tree to give the impression that the branches are holding snow. And also it has a feeling of fullness. You notice how the horizon line that we could see through the tree has largely disappeared. You don't want to cover the entire tree with snow, just add like little touches here and there. In some places it's going to hold a little bit more snow too. There we go. That looks so nice. So now I'm going to add that little white to the mixture and kind of scrumble out the bottom so it isn't quite as stark. And it gives the impression that there are snow drifts, like kind of hiding the bottom of the tree or gathered around the bottom of the tree. And it kind of situates the tree in the landscape and in space, so it's not, just so starkly sitting on top of the painting. So now dipping my brush in the water and dipping it in the white paint, and now I'm adding some more spatter on top of this tree as well. And just overall the entire painting to give more of that impression of snow. Okay, we're almost at the end. Okay, you tell I really enjoy adding the snow. The spatter painting is so much fun. It's almost like you're sprinkling glitter over it. And it really gives that impression of like, snowfall or a snowy landscape. So now we're done. I hope you enjoyed this Let's Paint Together paint kit from Pop Shop America.